Hello and welcome to BlockOne Productions. My name is Soma and I am with Glitch the Husky. Today, Coffee released a new batch of modules, and as always they are really interesting with many functionalities. They released 3 modules, Quant, Any and Set2. Let's review them and create something with them. But first, I want to thank YouTube user DasDavy for reminding me to show the cable opacity in my videos. The first module I want to talk about is Quant. It's a quantizer with a VOCT in and out and an octave, knobs and buttons for individual notes. So if you want to have a scale, you have to press each button individually. It does not come with presets, but you can easily save them if you like. My favorite thing about this module is that it has a really small form factor. So if you're struggling with space, this might do the trick. The octave and offset controls are a nice touch. I think they should be a standard. Quant is monophonic, which is not really a problem by itself, but if your concern is the size, then multiple quants might be bigger than JW or PCB quantizers with merge and split modules. Nevertheless, it's a fine addition to my collection. Let's see it in action. In this small patch, we have a clock, RNDG by DocB to produce random triggers, a sample and hold with integrated noise to produce notes for the triggers, Revolta to have a range for notes, Quant to quantize them, and energy to produce our sound. The second module released today is Any, a simple yet effective logic module. Any has 8 inputs, 1 output, and a selector to choose whether you want AND or OR gates. I am working on a whole video about logic, so I will be talking about that really soon. But in short, Any sends a trigger depending on the behavior you choose for it. It needs gate inputs. If you only add 1 gate input, it will work as a gate to trigger module. Whenever you send a gate, Any will send a trigger in response, and that is true for both modes. If you have more than 1 gate input and you choose AND in the selector, Any will send a trigger whenever all those gates are on. The position does not matter, only that all of the inputs are on. If the selector is in OR mode, Any will send a trigger whenever any of the input is on. Again, the position does not matter as long as there is at least 1 input on. There are many other logic modules, some with more gates like NOR, SOR, NAND and XNOR. But again, the small form factor as well as the fact that it has multiple inputs makes it a really good option. Let's see it in action. In this small patch, I have a clock triggering polygene, a non-Euclidean polyphonic sequencer. I have a kick and a snare that are triggered by the first and second channels in polygene. I have 2 Any modules, one with an OR gate that will trigger our closed hi-hat whenever any triggers goes through, and another in AND mode. It will trigger our open hi-hat whenever both of the kick and snare are triggered. Finally, we have my favorite module of this batch, and something similar to what I have in mind for modules of my own. Set2 has a big knob to select voltage, and you can use it as it is to output a CV in the range you want. Coffee modules have these little knobs, which I love, and in this case you can control the range and the offset, and it also has a CV input. What sets this module apart from others is that it has 4 presets, each with a button to set the desired voltage, with its respective CV input, a time scale selector that goes from units to tens to hundreds, a knob to select the time scale that goes from 0 to 1, a CV input for the duration, another knob to select the shape that goes from logarithmic to linear to exponential, and finally an end of cycle output. First, you have to select a desired voltage for the number of presets that you want. Once you have selected them, all you have to do is press the go button and it will travel from the current voltage to that preset's voltage in the selected duration with the selected shape. This is perfect in conjunction with logic modules to create risers or any kind of modulation. It is a really interesting module and I have lots of ideas to work with it. Let's see it in action. In this little patch, I have a teaser for another thing I have been working on. I love Mick Gordon's sound design techniques and I have created something that I call the Doom Machine to create sounds similar to what you could hear in the Doom 2016 soundtrack. In this little teaser, I have a rev tone to give a note, this button to produce a trigger, an ADSR to shape our sound, an oscillator to produce a square wave and a wavefold output, a double PCA, 2 distortion modules and set 2. In this case, I have configured it so that the first trigger from our button activates our first preset and the end of cycle triggers the next. I have a different times, shape and voltages set for every preset so that it will give us some movement to our distortion. Finally, I have created a patch using these 3 modules. This patch is inspired by the amazing Diego Stocco. You should check him out. This patch uses a clock and permutation to generate a sequencer and triggers for our sounds. Basically, I have 2 sets of percussions that will be triggered using any, both in AND mode. I have quant to quantize the sequence for permutation. This will affect our bass and the note for the resonator. And finally, every 32 steps, set 2 will modulate some white noise as well as some parameters from the filters. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and leave a comment. Follow me on social networks and join my Discord.